Welcome to the Charleston CFO Council. This organization was co-founded in 2015 by Robert Bendetti and Mark Carmichael in order to provide a networking and educational forum for senior financial executives to share best practices, to discuss current financial issues, and to learn about current topics related to the performance of their job.
Ryan, good morning. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you doing today, Robert?
I'm doing great. I was just telling you before we started, I had a great breakfast with my wife. My belly is full and I am happy.
Good. It's good to hear.
Well, thanks for doing this. I'm excited to get to talk to you. It's been a little while since we've seen each other under these quarantine times. Ryan Passe, I learned how to pronounce it correctly. I think I had been trying to throw a little like French into it, La Passe. Ryan Passe is the VP of Operations at Sands Investment Group. And before that, I noticed on LinkedIn, you had some really cool senior financial executive positions at different tech companies like Tumblr. So cool career thus far. It looks like you got back to South Carolina from looking at your different jobs. Maybe you spent a spell in New York. Attended the University of South Carolina. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct.
And if your Twitter feed is any indication, you are a huge USC fan and Carolina fan.
Yes, I am. Through good and bad, mostly bad recently, but a fan through and through.
And I always like to try to find something interesting. And one interesting thing I found on the internet about you is I believe that you met your beautiful wife, Caroline, in freshman math class. Is that correct?
That is correct. My first class of college.
And who was the tutor? Who was helping who in that class? That's the question.
She came to me for some help. That was my window in, a little math help, which works well with the CFO group.
Smart man, to use the God-given talent that you have in math skills to translate that into a happy marriage. Well played, sir.
Thank you.
Question number one, Ryan, what is your favorite business book and why?
Yeah, so I thought about this a little bit. I'm not sure exactly where it falls in the Dewey Decimal System at the library, but I recently read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, which is his memoir about his journey of starting Nike and kind of building it into the company that it is today. It's an amazing book for a lot of reasons. It definitely touches on a lot of the strategy of building a business. It has a lot of twists and turns. It was interesting in that, he has a lot more from kind of those early days, truly going through the struggle of figuring out how to establish a business and how to pivot and change as things happen. And it kind of spoke to the idea that nothing that is good comes easy, which I think is important to keep in your career and as you're trying to build your business, that sometimes you have to work hard for the things that you care about the most.
That's really good. I'm going to have to check that out. Nice recommendation. I haven't even heard of that book before, so thank you.
No problem. It's a really good one. I think you'll enjoy it.
Question number two, what is the best advice that you've ever received?
I had one of my managers early in my career kind of deliver this mantra or idea that you should never let yourself get too comfortable. That while comfortable might feel good at the time, it also points out that you stop growing as a person, as an employee, as a friend, as in your marriage. So it's always good to keep pushing yourself to get better and learn new things. And I think it's a valuable lesson that you always kind of strive for. I just wish that this was easier, or I wish that I had all the time in the day to do all of these things and that I knew exactly what I was doing. But that actually somewhat can set you back. And I guess if you're not growing, you're dying. So I like that as a piece of advice and something that continues to drive me forward.
Well, I like that. If you're not growing, you're dying. I'm going to be stealing that, Ryan. And the first time I'll give you credit. The second time I say it, I'm going to just give myself credit. So that was good.
I like that. Once you say it once, it's yours to take.
All right, Ryan. With your background, I'm looking for something big here on number three. What is a habit you recently picked up or a tool that you've recently started using that you found beneficial?
I'll talk about the habit first. I think one of the things that I found helpful, definitely during this quarantine time, but also just for the last few years, is that I changed my schedule to start waking up early and getting my day kicked off with some exercise. I usually, we live in a great place where I'm able to go outside. I like to go on a run outside. It helps me clear my head, gives me energy that I didn't always have before. I used to kind of rely on the morning cup of coffee to get me going. And while I still do enjoy that, I don't need anything else to help kickstart my day after I do that. So it's the kind of thing, I know it's not easy for everyone to do, but I think even getting up 10 minutes earlier to stretch or go on a walk, even think, basically anything not just looking at your phone or your computer is really helpful and does a lot of good. In terms of tools that I use, I am very into the idea of using tools to record notes and reminders. I am pretty much addicted to using my Google Calendar. I kind of treat it as a Tetris board, and I use it not just to book meetings, but also to kind of time block my day. There's things that are required of me that I am supposed to be doing in my job, and to follow up on things and to respond to emails. And sometimes you have to almost force yourself to do it. And by putting the time block on there, I'm kind of holding myself accountable that when the little thing pops up on my screen and says it's time to review the financials for X office, that you have to go and do it. And I think that that's something that has been really powerful for me in helping me stay on track with the things that I need to do, but also to kind of force you to do those things that you might want to put on the back burner.
Ooh, I think I'm going to steal that one. That's good. You can get meeting, and you had all these things on your to-do list, but if you don't have a time block on there for some of the to-do list, you're not going to get to it.
Right. And I think that it almost adds to like your anxiety that you know that you have these things to do. And I like to know that I have this slot from 4 to 5 p.m. where I'm going to be able to do that. And it helps me kind of put my mind at ease that I will get to that. I know I will, because I have the time saved to do it.
Question number 4, what is the best part of your current job?
I think the best part of my current job is that we're in this phase of growth where we're actually like building the processes and solutions to really drive things forward. And I think in my role, I get to build solutions that have both short and long-term impacts on the business. And getting to see like the fruits of your labor really drives me. And I think it's a little unique to the type of work that we do, where we're supporting a brokerage business in commercial real estate. And you get to see how one transaction can be the catalyst to change someone's career, to change their life forever. And that's something that's really special to be a part of. I think that is something that I found really rewarding in this role, is that you get to see the true impact of the deal getting done and the person that worked on it to help it come to fruition. And I really have enjoyed getting to be a part of that, and to actually see that when we put something in place and it helps someone, get the paycheck to, buy a house or to invest in their long-term success, that's a really special thing and not something that you get to experience everywhere.
That's cool. And this has got to be an exciting time, maybe a transitional, interesting time for your industry. How does telework and the future of telework impact commercial real estate? And interesting to see what will over the next 5 and 10 years.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time. It has also been interesting to kind of see how the domino effect occurs, right? We do a lot of retail stuff, a lot of restaurants, a lot of things that, are involved with people traveling and commuting in and around cities. And I think that we're going to see some of that stuff change. Some will be for the good, some will be for the bad for some of these. But it's definitely an interesting time, and one that is a learning experience. And I think that we've embraced that as an opportunity to figure out the way that things work and to try to predict the future as best you can. But also, we're on the same roller coaster as everyone else, that the times are changing, and we're trying to continue to figure out the best ways to work in it.
Question number 5, what is something personal that you would be willing to share that maybe we don't know about you?
So I thought about the things that I would want to share, maybe that we hadn't had on the list of things to discuss today. And I think I just wanted to start with my gratitude for having the opportunity to be a part of the CFO Council, for a lot of the things in my life, for having a job or career that challenges me, for getting to live in a great place like we do, for being healthy and happy. I know that these are pretty weird times for a lot of people who are dealing with more than they bargained for. And I wanted to take a moment to kind of voice my gratitude for all the things that we have in our life. I think I've told you before how much I appreciate the work that you do to help keep the organization going. And while my wife can't really understand exactly what we do, meetings, I really do enjoy the people, the camaraderie. And I think that one of the things that has been really special to me in my journey as I return back to South Carolina is getting to interface with different people and learn about the different companies that are here, and to really get to be a part of a different community. So I guess that was a little bit off of what your initial question was, but it was something that I wanted to share that I thought was important to put out there, because I know there's a lot of things that run through your mind as we live in this life mostly at home and somewhat in solitary areas, that there's a lot to be grateful for, and there's a lot to recognize that is great in our lives. So I wanted to take a moment to call that out.
I think that's important. You're the maybe third or fourth person I've heard talk about this in the past couple weeks. I'm hearing a theme, and I think it's powerful, this idea of having a gratitude journal and just being specific about all the blessings that we all have in our lives. We're healthy, we have a job. There's some things that I take for granted that I shouldn't. And being vocal about that, I think, is really good for yourself to hear and for others to hear. So I think that that's really powerful. And also, I have a wife and kids, and I've described that, hey, we got a breakfast meeting tomorrow, and they help me with the name tags, and they'll ask, like, what's the topic? And I'll say something, a wax. All right, I'm going to start again. I'm going to make my son edit this part out. And then I will wax poetic about some financial topic, and they will look at me and ask, like, is anybody signed up? Is anybody going to come? And so I'm having my son edit this whole part out. All right, pause. That was awesome, Ryan. Well done. Question number 6 is the last question, which is, what is something that I didn't ask that I should have asked, and what is your answer to that?
So you didn't ask directly. I think indirectly, your last question was kind of something that I wanted to share. I guess the question that I've thought about, or that I'm happy to share, is like, what's my passion outside of work? And while I'm scared to admit that I'm falling into the cliche of like the neighborhood guy that you see in a commercial, I've spent a lot of time over the last 2 months learning how to grill and smoke meats and working on my yard. Those two things have been, taking a lot of time and energy outside of work. The meats I like a lot more than the yard, but hopefully one day both will come together in one happy harmony, and we'll be able to enjoy both of those things together. I love sports, so I've missed sports on TV, but I'm looking forward to both playing sports and watching sports in the future, and hopefully my Gamecocks will be back on the field at some time, so that I can live through more highs and lows of the usual season with them.
What is your go-to item for the grill?
So the one that I perfected thus far is ribs. Pork, baby back ribs, or St. Louis ribs. That one I've figured out the technique. I figured out the timing. I have the rub. I got it all figured out. There's others that have not gone as well. Maybe if we do this again next year, I'll have other ones to report. But the ribs right now, if you can smell those on the grill and you're one of my neighbors, you got to peek over the fence and see if you can maybe get your hands on one.
I'm thinking we've got a social at Ryan Passe's house coming up, fellas, for a little fellowship. We can bring side items. I'm just throwing that out into the space there in case you want to pick that up, Ryan, and have 50 to 60 to 100 of your closest friends.
I'm sure my wife would understand a little bit more about the 7 a.m. meeting if we did that. So that could be fun. Maybe a summer soiree.
Ryan, this was awesome. Thank you so much. I learned a bunch. I got a new book to check out. I'm going to be saying, if you're not growing, you're dying. So much people hate it. And great thought about the gratitude journal. That was awesome. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me today. This was a lot of fun.